It's time for a top 10 of my favourite Radiance releases from 2025. Now, these are mostly individual films. I will come back and rank all the box sets later on. Radiance, third year of running. I think it's been another exceptional year. There still hasn't been a film from them that I didn't enjoy, which is just, I'm grateful. I love it. There have been lots of discoveries. In fact, I'm looking at this pile of films I have in front of me now, and these are all new to me. There's only one film here that I had seen before, and there was some amazing discoveries throughout the year. The box sets I will talk about individually, but Radiance, for me, the best UK label at the moment. In fact, the best boutique label in general. I love everything they do, and even the things that don't strike me as something that I'd be interested in sometimes turns out to be the films that I absolutely adore. So much trust with them. I can't wait to see what 2026 brings. But first, we are going to dive into my number 10 film from Radiance, which is The Beast to Die from Toru Murakawa. Now, this one was fantastic. We have a Japanese noir here, where we're following a war photographer who's returned to Tokyo, triggers a spiral of violence, paranoia, and self-destruction. And it is incredible, tied together with a absolutely amazing performance. It feels like a kind of Japanese taxi driver with added nihilism. It's brutal, it's sweaty, it's totally unhinged final act. I was sitting watching it, mouth aghast at what was happening. It was an incredible film. Like I said, that main performance was unbelievable, and it was truly a standout one that it made me uncomfortable, but I was absolutely hooked. Number 9 for me, it was one of those surprise movies, one of those movies where I saw it and I went, that's not my kind of thing. I'm not really going to enjoy that one, and that is Rosa la Rose, Fille Publique. And this is a tragic, poetic portrait of a young woman drifting through her job of being a sex worker and her doomed romance. But there's a theatricality to it. There is a vibrance in the colours. It's all primary colours. Everybody looks fantastic. It's physical perfection on streets of decay, almost. I thought the characters were terrific. I thought the song and dance number midway through it was enchanting. I thought the violence when it comes was shocking. The idea of these characters was just heartwarming. I loved spending time with everybody in this film. I loved watching the dynamics and how it was going to play out. And it was a very romanticised version of this career and life, but it did have the sort of harder hitting moments as well. One you may have skipped by, one that I would say you absolutely should not have. It was a absolute joy. Number 8 for me was a 4K, one of a few that Radiance released this year, and it was the second Todd Solondz films in the Radiance range, Palindromes. Again, I had seen Palindromes. It's the one that I had seen a long time ago. It is so unusual and yet hilarious and yet deeply dark and unsettling, yet still funny, and it's just a weird hodgepodge. It's what Todd Solondz does so well. It's a dark comic journey through childhood, identity, and where the central character is played by multiple people, which really changes the dynamics of each scene, and I love that idea. Now, there is really uncomfortable scenarios throughout this, but it's played almost darkly comedic, that it is funny but still doesn't lose the horrible nature of what's going on. The fact that the main character changes is something that I find absolutely fascinating. You know, and how that portrayal still keeps the essence of the character, though changing the dynamics of the scene. It was great to revisit that. One that I just recently watched, coming in at number 7 for me, is 1966 Splendid Outing by Kim Soo-young. This pure nightmare fuel. You know, a high-flying businesswoman finds herself trapped on an isolated island where she is told that she's the wife of a fisherman, and she is brutalised and finds herself stripped of all that power that she had. All the autonomy is gone. It is a pure nightmare. It is horrifying. It is shocking, and the violence is somehow raw and deeply unsettling. But it's the filmography, it's the editing, the way things are put together that creates that off-kilter, this isn't right, there's something completely wrong here, feeling about this film. Very much something that you should go into knowing as little as you possibly can, in case anybody spoils things that happen throughout it. I've kept it kind of bland there. My review doesn't give away anything too much about it, but yeah, definitely worth checking out. My number 6 from 1971 is Malpertuis. I loved this film, and it was one of those ones where I'm watching it going, I don't know what's happening, and somehow I'm captivated, I'm enjoying the world. You know, a young man enters a decaying mansion where the residents don't seem to be who they say they are, and he has this dying uncle that's kind of a puppet master for everybody in this labyrinthine-like mansion, and it's weird and it's odd, and there is people playing multiple characters, and it's beautiful to look at, and it's unsettling, and it has about 5 endings that are just more confusing than each other. And when I think about it, it's like trying to grab mist or fog. I feel like I'm almost there, and then it just goes. And I like films like that keep me on my toes and keep me guessing or reappraising what it was all about. Next up, number 5, and I feel like I want to put this higher. I really want to watch it again, and I really enjoyed it. It is from 1975. It is Weak Spot by Peter Fleischman. You have this kind of man who's caught, accused of being a traitor to the state. We have 2 policemen who are going to escort him across country. They take a detour. They end up in a small fishing village. There is lots of duplicity going on here. There's wonderful interactions between characters. I think the cast is amazing, particularly Mario Adorf, who, again, love him in everything, but there is something twisted about the nature of this. Even going back and watching that a second time, you know what's going to happen, but there's still, you see all these things that you didn't quite notice the first time, how people are playing off each other, how everybody's lying one way or another, how they're all up to their own ends. It was so much fun. It was so engaging. You feel like you're on a high pressure chase at the start, and then it just detours into a seaside town, and they kind of wander about and have ice cream and chat to girls, and you're just like, where's this going? What's the dynamic here? What is the ultimate end course of this film? So good. I really enjoyed it, and it was one of those ones that just made me go, wow. As did all of these kind of films, really, now that we're into some of the better ones, or some of the more important ones for me. Another 4K and part of a 2-film set is The Inquisitor. This is the film I'm talking about. It comes with a Deadly Circuit as well, which was good, but The Inquisitor for me is the film that is my number 4. It is an interview. It's an interview between a policeman and a political suspect, someone who has a little bit of power and money, and they're talking about the death of a couple of girls, and the investigator is sure this person is guilty. This person may be guilty, may be innocent, but their actions, because they come from a power of authority and wealth, could lead them to be guilty or innocent. And it's watching the dynamics of this conversation play out, how the filming of it keeps it fresh, and how the camera moves around this drab office on a night as it's limited people as they're talking, but it keeps everything heightened, and there is that curiosity to what's going on at the end of it. And although you may not get the answers you want, it feels fitting for the story. I really loved this one, and I love that kind of nature of film where you're limited characters, a limited time span, and a high pressure situation. Performances are excellent. The camera work, the editing, the way it's put together is terrific. Yeah, highly recommend that one. My number 3 is a German film, and that is The Cat. Now, this was phenomenal. This thriller was great as we watch a man set up a bank heist where he is also setting up his people that are helping him with the bank heist, where he has an ulterior motive, where he's looking for the cash, where we have the police chief and all the SWAT team that come in to try and stop it, the shenanigans that are going on behind the scenes, the action set pieces. Some of the situations are incredibly tense and pay off expertly well. I found it to be exhilarating, thrilling, from that opening start of that heated sex scene into the pressure cooker of the plot of the film. It was exhilarating. I absolutely loved it. A film that I thought initially was going to be my number 1, and it was really great, is Je t'aime, Je t'aime. And thinking back to it, man, this was one of those films where I was just in awe of what I was watching. You have a broken man who travels back in time, and he's revisiting moments of his past love affair with his connection, a relationship that seems almost doomed from the start as they really connect so powerfully, and then as they fall apart, and it jumps through time, and there is this unique kind of broad comedy that ekes in throughout it, as long with a deep sadness throughout it. It's a melancholic film that is not a joy, but something that almost tortures the viewer as much as it tortures the main character. It's turning memory into a kind of science fiction, a heartbreak of a loop that never ends, and I love that about it. I said in my review at the time, this was fascinating, like the way water is used, the way like ripples in a pool is how they kind of describe time and the effects that it has on the character, but really anchoring it with an emotional love story and heartbreak is something that we can all attune to, and I think it's delivered amazingly well here. Yeah, I absolutely loved this one. Looking back at everything I ranked this year and where I place it on my Radiance list, Je t'aime, Je t'aime should have been number 1. And looking back at it, looking at all the films that I watched, there was one that has strongly stuck with me, and one that I will forever champion, and one that may have been bypassed or forgotten. We are in a spate of lots of Asian films being released, and there is lots of filler in amongst that, and I think there are some great films that we are missing out on because we're maybe overload of these type of films. But for me, my number 1 is 1966's The Betrayal, a film that was absolutely phenomenal. Now, a lot of that comes from the final action set piece, which was exhausting, where I knew what could happen here. There was insurmountable odds, and the hero who I'd followed, who everything in this world bad had happened to, was probably going to die, and yet I still lived with the hope. The film still gave me excitement and hope that this man, this good person, would persevere. It's a samurai who is asked to take responsibility for something that he did not do to protect someone. And because he does that, he is shunned, he is chased and hunted, and he is sidelined throughout his life. And it's the blame for the misdeed of others that gets to him, but he stays honourable. He stays loyal to his code and just tries to persevere. It's a character that I really enjoyed spending time with. It's an 87-minute movie. It is short, it's impactful. There is characters that come into this that I absolutely adored. There's characters that change throughout the film, which I was shocked by. And the ending is one of the most breathtaking, exciting, thrilling endings that I've ever seen. But it was tinged with this character will die. This character is going to die throughout this final action set piece because it just feels so insurmountable, and it just feels like the death of hope, the death of that kind of loyalty of being a good person, of nothing ever working out for our character. And that just for me was devastating. I couldn't watch and I couldn't look away when it came to that finale. And that for me was a lasting impression of the Betrayal, making it my number one for that. It's another great year from Radiance. I was so happy to pick up all of their titles, to check out all of their films, and to love their films. They were an absolute joy, and I am looking forward to 2026 to see what they have to offer this year. But that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion of the standard single film releases. I'd love to know your favourite Radiance release, your favourite 3, your favourite 5, favourite 10. I really want to compare and see what your top 10 says about you, or your top 3, your top 5, top 1, whatever, because we all, we're arguing about greatness. So let's just see what each other's lists are going to be like. I will be back with ranking all of the 7, I believe it is, box sets from Radiance this year, my opinions on each of them, and why I think they deserve that position in my list. But thank you for joining me. Thank you for listening. As always, there is more content up here. You can see more of my stuff. In the description box below are links to Patreon, membership program, manvfilm.com. Always in which you can support me.